Hello, Louisville. Guess who's coming to dinner? Hello, Louisville. Welcome back to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. And our guest this evening is the renowned and most highly respected Chairman of the Board of JCPS, Miss Diane Porter. Hello, darling.
Hello, thank you. Enjoy the invitation to come to dinner. Thank you so much.
Yes, it is dinner time. I'm sorry. The menu is slight this evening, but the conversation is appetizing.
It's
How
going to
about
be
that?
rich. Yes, ma'am.
It's gonna be
Absolutely.
rich. I wanted to bring you on, Diane, because number one, I have such admiration for you
Thank you.
as at what you've done in our community and how you always represent us so well. You know, and you say you walk soft and carry a big stick. You know, that's what I believe. And you handle your business, you know, and you don't need a lot of fanfare. You just go take care of it and report back to us and keep it moving.
Yes, ma'am.
But I want you to talk to us today about school is about to be in session. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that it's going to be good for those that choose to go back in person, but it's also going to be good for those that choose to stay home because we have to start somewhere. We're starting here.
Right.
And the decision that's so hard for parents to make, and I understand and appreciate, and I spoke to that when I made my vote, is that they need to feel very safe about everything that is going on with their child going back to school. And the things that were talked to me about the most were bus transportation,
Right.
what the ventilation was going to be like, because we have all the districts have older schools. So, how are we making sure that the ventilation is what it's supposed to be?
Okay.
Sanitation, because everything has to be wiped down and sanitized throughout the day. And then the level of instruction, what would the instruction look like for a student that has been physically out of the building for a year? And what will it look like for a student who comes into a building? What will the instruction look like when they come back to the building for this brief period of time?
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things that are concerning, and those are the things that I spoke to the night we took our vote. I
Mm-hmm.
voted for my district. The district elected me to speak for my district. So unapologetically, I spoke for District 1.
All right. All right. And so District 1 didn't think we were ready to go back to school. Am I correct?
That's correct. There were a lot of unanswered questions that had been asked multiple times, and I did not have clear answers. Parents were not hearing clear answers.
Right.
The answer, we're working on it, is okay at one point, but as we got closer to the time, that made parents anxious, and I understand and appreciate that. So I think we've learned from this how we can improve and how we can get the information out there early on instead of as we get closer to the time to open the doors.
Right. Didn't it seem as though, as far as maybe rushing to get the kids back into school, because the state looked like they were moving to maybe try to do something that was going to be mandatory, you know, try to pass some kind of law, you know, since they have this super majority, in order just to kind of make everybody go back to school.
That was something that was there that we couldn't move and we couldn't change. But my philosophy is in March of 2020, we had to close schools for the safety of everybody. So, in my mind, the planning should start to go back to school April 2020 because we knew this day would come. We just did not know when the day would get here. So, as it turned out, we were trying to do our business in Louisville, they were doing their business in Frankfurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that this is a political world. You all did not elect a political person. You elected an educator, but I understand the world that we live in.
Right.
So everything was kind of on top of each other right at the end, but we knew this day would come. And
Mm-hmm.
so sometimes a long plan is a great plan, and then you go back and do the tweaking toward the end. So
Right,
we had a lot to do, to be honest.
right. Yeah, because there's a lot of moving parts to the school system.
Yes,
You know,
ma'am.
just
And
like
we
you
have
said, the transportation, the cleaning,
mhm.
the teachers, the the staff, the administration, everybody being on the same page. Do so as we move up to that, or do you think it's going to be? It sounds like it's going to be a lot of kind of OJT, learning as they go,
Well, I
because
think
they've
what
never
has
been through
happened,
this before.
yeah, nobody's been through this before, but after the decision was made, I checked with one of my principals Saturday to see how she was,
Hmm.
and she and her team were working on Saturday. I mean, we can get it done, but could we have given them a little bit more time? It's really a push for the elementary schools because they go back first,
Right,
and the moving of the desks, and like I said, sanitizing, the ventilation, everything has to be in place, and everything has to be perfect. So we have done videos showing what it's going to look like, and people are working really, really hard. But to understand also, everybody has worked really, really hard when we were not in the building. So I
right.
don't want people to think that folks are coming back from vacation, because it's been hard work since we had to close the buildings for everybody's safety.
Well, everybody is the teachers have been going to their schools. I know my husband works within the school system, but knowing that the teachers have been going back, getting their classrooms ready, that they've been looking at how they're gonna, navigating these little ones with these masks on there. That sounds like a doozy.
Well, I think the math's gonna be fun, and we have to figure out how to take
How
fun
to
and make
make it
it
fun.
serious. Yeah,
Okay,
it's gonna be fun
okay,
because, I mean, they may have worn masks a little bit, but now they're gonna have to wear masks for a longer period of time. They haven't seen each other for a long time, so I'm gonna look at your mask and tell you, what do you think of my mask? And you're gonna tell me what you think of my mask. And
right,
so, and the hope is that everybody, in the midst of looking and touching and everything, that you don't pull it all the way down. But
right,
I know, and you know, that the smaller children are, the more they like to touch and feel. So
right,
there's going to be some touching and feeling going on, but I hope that the mask stays up as much as possible. But they're going to have to get used. It's hard to keep a mask on for hours. We had our first in-person board meeting last week, and I
hmm,
wear a mask, but I've never had to sit with a mask on for 3+ hours. So I feel for them going
right.
back into the building, but
Because I
it
know
will.
myself at times I'm just like, I have to breathe. I take a
Mhm.
breath.
Yeah,
But the mask wearing in the schools is part of comes under the CDC guidelines as far as that is mandatory for our kids in order to come back to school.
it is mandatory unless they have a medical reason why they cannot. And so if they have a medical reason why they cannot wear a mask, we have a something that we put on the desk to frame the desk, and so that they are not just breathing out onto people. It's like, I've forgotten what you call it, but it's looks like plexiglass, and
Right.
it's
A
clear.
shield
So
kind of
you
like
kind
to
of
shield
you
them
frame
inside of
the
the
desk, yes,
space.
and so
Okay.
you make it safe for them. And if they are in a, for example, if they're in middle school and they have to change classes, we would have a shield in every class that that student goes to. So if they're, if they are unable to wear the mask, but we
But
have
that's
lots of
just for the student that has
a
medical.
medical reason.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we have
Okay.
lots of masks. We have purchased lots, and the community has just been very generous with giving us thousands and thousands of masks. So we are, right now, we're doing well. We have great sanitizer. So we are prepared for day one.
Hmm.
And I'm curious to see how many masks a student will use in one day, because I think that's going to be fun. If I was a student, it would be like, oh, I need another one this afternoon. Whoops, my morning one has to go. So we'll just have to see. I'm not
See,
trying to plant any seeds, but I'm just curious to see.
the kids be saying, "We're gonna see how many masks you really have,
Hmm. Yep,
how
we got
many
a
are
bunch.
available."
Yes,
Wow.
ma'am.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you about um, was the school assignments, because I know, um, knowing that all the kids in the West I went to Shawnee. Okay. I graduated. I went to Shawnee Junior High, Shawnee High School. And knowing what that experience was for me to walk from Cecil and Garland to Shawnee was a wonderful part of my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to go to school within some proximity to where I lived.
Mm-hmm.
And going to Shawnee, I used to sub at Shawnee, and I was told that all the children that none of the children that lived within what a 1 or 2 mile radius of the school were able to go to that school.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying that's crazy to me. And because that was such an enriching experience in itself, because you had all those childhood friends that I'd walk my girlfriend halfway home, and then she'd walk me halfway home, you know, and then we'd meet. They'd come from maybe 38th and Sutcliffe. They'd meet me at 41st and Broadway, and then we'd walk to school together. I know that they miss all of that, but how how are they going? How does that work? How do you get to go to the school that you want to go to?
Well, there will be some changes with the plan. The plan has not been voted on yet because COVID came along and we kind
Okay.
of put that on the shelf.
Okay.
But along with the choice to stay closer to home, I am focusing on the choice of staying closer to home and receiving a quality education
Absolutely.
because that's what public education is all about. So it's great to offer new facilities, which we're offering, but I also want to be as strong about the level of educating our students. And it's extremely important to me to look early on and not wait until middle school and high school and say how far behind a student may be. When we have kindergarten readiness, we will continue to do that. We will have
Okay.
kindergarten, but we know that when a student gets into the third grade, the grades begin to slide in reading and math. So,
Okay.
what I am advocating for, which is not in the plan at this time, but what I'm advocating for is that we add an academic component to the student assignment plan that will start to focus on all students who are not at grade level at grade 3 and focus on reading and math, and they will have be less behind or less struggling as they
Hmm.
move to the middle school and to the high school.
Hmm.
I think that's extremely important. And I think there's this saying, if you don't face it, you can't fix it. So we
Right.
need to face the facts. We need to look at the data. We need to analyze what we can do differently. And we know, that every child learns differently. So it's
Right.
our responsibility to figure out how to provide a deeper education and to work with their individual needs. That's our responsibility. And I think that it's time now that we take a deep breath and say, okay, we've gotten through COVID. Let's roll up our sleeves and see what we can do to make this work for the
Right.
benefit of students. The focus right now is on West Louisville, District 1. And I keep saying to Dr. Polio, District 1 is not just West Louisville. So we have to be clear. The other thing is we have to have a plan that you can pick up and you can read it and you can understand it easily, as
Right.
opposed to saying, click on this and click on that. A worse thing to happen if I'm a grandparent and I'm raising my child and I don't have access to technology. So we have to put this plan out so everyone can understand it, feel safe and comfortable with it, but we're not ready for the vote yet.
Right.
I know they don't want me to say that, but we're not ready for the vote yet.
Okay.
We've
I
got
hear
some
you.
work to do,
I hear
okay?
you. Yeah.
And with everybody's support, I understand those that want to stay closer, but I've also gotten emails from families that enjoy the experience of going further away. So it is a choice, but no matter where the choice is, the level, the quality of
Quality
education must be the same.
the same. You know, I noticed. I don't know when this happened, and maybe you can bring me up to speed, because in my substituting time at JCPS, I felt like I made an observation. I believe that sixth graders aren't ready for middle school. And I don't think ninth graders are ready for high school.
Mhm,
Now, I remember when it was 1 through 6, junior high school 7 through 9, correct? Right?
mhm.
High school 10 through 12. I didn't think anything was broke with that. So it did something happen that magically said we need to change that, because it was like it wasn't broke, and somebody decided they need to fix it.
Right. Somewhere along the line, something happened, which means that somebody did some research, some studying. But I talked to the superintendent today, and what we would like to do when it's safer for all, we
Mm,
need to set up a transition program as a student goes from 5 to 6, that there would be like a summer camp or something that would make them ready for moving. And the same would be eighth grade to ninth grade to make that transition a whole lot smoother. So
right.
we talked about that today. We're going to get some federal dollars thanks to President Biden, and we're going to figure out how we can allocate that money for the good of our students. That's very, very important. We have started learning hubs throughout the city. They will continue doing the summer. We are going to have a summer program, which I can't exactly describe to you yet because I don't know the details, but
Okay.
we will be getting the details soon about that. But we have to look at the length of our school year. Do we want a longer year for 2 or 3 years to provide for the in-person education that the students have not been able to have? So we've got to roll up our sleeves and think all thoughts. Just because we did it such and such way March 2020 does not mean that that's the way we will go
Right.
forward as we go into the 2021-2022 year. The federal funding that we are getting, additional dollars, will be with us for 3 years. So it gives us an opportunity to make a big difference in the education for our students. But we also have to have a plan. When that money goes away, we don't want to just turn off the lights and say, let's go back to where we were. So that's why I say we've got to roll up our sleeves and do some deep thinking and some heavy work.
Another question that I thought about. These were things that I thought about when I was subbing, okay? And I was wondering, I know, PTAs used to be a real big to do when we were growing up. And because most of our children are bused, I'm wondering, how does that allow parents to really become invested in their following up on their child's education, if the school that their child goes to is 20 miles away from where they live. So when they get off work, they're going in one direction and the PTA meeting is in another direction.
Right.
I was wondering, has anybody ever thought about having the PTA meetings in the neighborhoods that might facilitate those parents of those children?
I think what you're suggesting is a great suggestion. What we need to think about is what we can do to keep our community engaged and involved.
Yes.
That's a very good question. The PTA piece, usually if a parent's getting off from work, they don't have the energy or the time to necessarily go to a PTA meeting, but they join.
Right.
I was a PTA parent when my daughter was in school. I paid the money, but my job did not allow me to leave my job in the middle of the day and go to a meeting. So I speak on behalf of the PTA all the time. It's a great organization, but as I told them, I got an F in attendance because I had to keep my day job. But I believe in the PTA. And the other thing that we have to seriously do is look at the schools that do not have the monetary support with the PTA and what are we going to put in those schools so that we do not have schools that are going without. All schools, all students deserve all things. So that's a topic that is up for discussion also. And the idea of having meetings within the community is an excellent idea. Thank you.
Yeah, but I really I put some thought into it because I was saying, well, how could they get together? Now I know that there is a satellite over at the California Community Center. Am I correct?
There's a satellite there.
JCPS.
And there's one at the Academy at Shawnee also.
Okay, okay,
And when there
wonderful.
was Beecher Terrace, there was wasn't a satellite, but there was a space there where Ballard High School would come down and meet with parents to talk about grades and things like that. So the teachers would come. That has happened before, but the idea of the PTA, I don't know that that has happened, but I do know that teachers, schools have come to the West to have meetings with families and students before school starts and during the school time to make it
Okay,
easier for the parents to get there. Transportation can be a challenge
right.
to get across town. So there are schools that have gone above and beyond and come to District 1 to meet with their families.
Okay, but that would be my only suggestion that they,
Okay,
that the PTA, because I what I know is missing is a lot of times is some parental involvement.
right.
Because I mean might have a problem with a child, and I said, I'm gonna call your mother. They give me their cell phone. Here, call her. You know, and I'm like, what? And I'd say to them, I said, now I know you don't speak to your grandmother like this or your mother like this, so why do you think it's okay to speak to me in this way?
Mhm.
Because a lot of times, actually, to what I learned, Diane, I guess I get to vent cause you here. I'm gonna vent too tough. Is that a lot of our white instructors are afraid of our children, and
And
so
yeah,
they
they
just
let them do what
let
they
them
do
just like
without.
over in a corner. He does that. That's what he does. I said, no, you don't.
Mhm.
You get your stuff. Come on over here. Not today. I said, because
Right.
I could be back tomorrow.
Mhm.
That was always my threat. I'm not here just for one day. I could be back here tomorrow. So come on, get involved. And I found out when I did involve that child,
Mhm.
their behavior was totally different,
Yes,
probably than it
absolutely.
was when the teachers did, because they know that's what's expected of them.
I think expectations of adults is extremely important, and we have training for our staff about responsiveness to students. That's extremely important.
Hmm.
But the generation that I grew up with, we were happy to go to schools like the Academy at Shawnee or Male High School, where we were new to them. They had not
Hmm.
seen students that looked like me uh, ever. And then we opened the door and went in, and the education was there. Most teachers were very welcoming, but
Right,
they had not had the experience of having a Black student in their class. So then the question becomes, what was the expectation for the Black student? Can you learn? Are you here to learn? Are
right,
you just here? And I will say that I had some really strong teachers that gave really strong education, but everybody needs to know that every child can learn. The question is, how do we turn on the light and how do we keep it on and speak to what they can do? Too often we talk negative
right.
as adults, we talk negative talk. We don't talk about the good talk, we talk about the negative talk. But if I said to you, those are beautiful earrings and I love your glasses, you're going to smile.
Hmm.
But if I say, I don't know why you got that on, then you're going to frown because I've
Right,
gone negative. So it's how
right,
you approach it and how you develop relationships at all levels, starting with our kindergarten children.
right. I know I taught a French class at Shawnee because I wanted to go to my high school and sub,
Hmm.
and there was a lot of French writing on the chalkboard, and the students came in and I said bonjour, and they looked at me and said, "What's up with her?" And I said, "Well, this is a French class." They said, I said, "So bonjour." I said, "Ça va?" I said, "Comment appelez-vous?" I'm asking them their name, and they just thought it was hilarious. Girl, I shut the door. I said, "This is a French class." I said, "You all don't speak conversational French to each other?" They said, "No. We just learn how to conjugate the verbs and that kind of thing." I said, "You mean your teacher doesn't speak French to you?" I said, "Because it would be, I took French at Shawnee,
Okay.
okay? But everything that was, seemed like that was being given to them because it can be exciting. I mean,
Hmm.
it stayed with me long enough to make me want to go to the country.
Okay.
All right. So, but I closed the door to find out how they felt about going to Shawnee at that time. And they were embarrassed. So I had to tell them how Shawnee was off the hook. And
Right.
if you went to Shawnee, that was the school that had it going on. We had everything: new gym, new football stadium, new school,
Mhm.
actually, when we went. And so I tried to bring my good experience to them about and how tried to help them navigate not feeling that way about it. I said, but you also get what you give.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you come to school with bad attitudes and everybody accepts everybody's bad attitude, then you've got a school full of bad attitudes. But if you really come to school to get ready for being grown and going out into the world, because y'all only going to be here 15 minutes, So I had a conversation with them and they were engaged in this conversation. They had everyone wanted to tell their story and what happened to them, what happens on the bus, and when they get to school. I didn't teach much French that day,
But you
but
got
I
them
felt
engaged and you made them feel a part. You were there for that one day or maybe more
right,
days, but you engaged them and letting them know that you wanted to know about them and
right,
that you learned French, Shani. That was significant to say that. So I graduated from Shani. I'm back. I'm speaking to you and you're talking to me about the verbs, but I'm speaking French to you. We
right.
have at Whitney Young, they have done French immersion over there also for the elementary students at Whitney Young.
Okay,
So you know, it's good to speak it. I went to Male. I taught Spanish. He never. All we did was just what the children said they do it, and the only thing he would say was caramba. But that meant we were
girl.
noisy. That was it. Caramba,
What?
caramba. Yeah, caramba,
Carumba. Get out of
caramba.
here.
Yep, yep. But no conversation. No even not the opportunity to even try that. So
Right,
I wouldn't dare, go anywhere and try to speak anything without going back to class on
right,
Spanish because I cannot speak Spanish. I took Spanish, but I cannot speak it.
right. Well, I couldn't speak French till I lived in France.
Yes,
So that helped me a lot. But it's just um and I'm very proud of what's going on at Shawnee. The
yes,
third
we're
floor, Miss
excited about
Rice.
Chamonix, very excited about it. $40 million renovation, $40 million. And so the
Wow.
third floor will be open for students and traffic, but the pool has been redone. There's a lot of things that have been changed. The library has been moved. It's going to be a beautiful building. It's going to
They're
be
doing a new
quality.
auditorium.
Yes.
They were getting rid of the seats.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The
Wow.
auditorium is getting it was like, well, we're going to do everything, but I'm not sure we're going to have money for the auditorium. I said, oh, yeah, we're going to have money for the auditorium. You don't come
Hmm.
that far and not do that. So the auditorium is getting new seats. The
Right.
swimming pool needed some major renovations, so it's up and ready to go. So quality education. We want the best for our students at the Academy at Shawnee. We will settle for no less,
No less.
no time,
Absolutely.
no day. It has to be quality and it has to meet the needs of our students. You have a dynamic leader over there. Principal Rice is amazing, outstanding. We
Yes.
stole her from Western, where she did great work at
Right.
Western School for the Arts. And so now she's there with a strong leadership team. But a lot of good will happen at the Academy at Shawnee. Everybody has to be accepted, like you accepted the students that you talk to. When you see a student walk in the door and they're constantly looking at the floor, we need to find that young man or young lady and talk to them
Right.
because there's a reason for that. And it's our job to figure it out and to make them feel comfortable in the school environment.
There's a lot. Asking a child, so what's going on with you, goes a long way.
Mhm.
I mean, even if you see somebody, even when there are behavioral problems, and I take a child outside the classroom, not reprimanding in front of other kids. I ask them, "What's your problem?" So talk to me because something else is going on. Because
Mhm.
I know I haven't done a thing to you all day,
Right.
and you come in here and act crazy on me. What is it? But that goes a long way. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share something with you next time I see you. I wrote a program. It's called a citizenship initiative,
Okay.
and it's from first grade through 12th grade. And it's all those little, um, mm, I'm talking about the anecdotes, but the things that we were taught as children, because sometimes nowadays we saw that there was something dropped along the way, that the things that we think children are being taught at home are not always being taught at home. So first grade has a level that they have to learn, maybe 5 things they learn. When they go to second grade, they got to add 5 more things onto it. By the time they get to the 10th, 11th, and 12th grades, they're into, how do I choose my friends? What makes a good friend?
Wow.
What are good characteristics of a
Right.
friend? You know, how do what makes me a good citizen?
Mm-hmm.
Because I very seldom hear the word citizenship used at all. And I think it's something in school that I think we were taught. Don't you remember something about citizenship
Yes.
and all the components of citizenship, about, your rights, voting, what you should and shouldn't do as a citizen in your community, just. But I've got it all written out, and I've got everything they would learn from grades 1 through 12. So next time I see you, I'm going to just hand you my little proposal.
I look forward to that as we continue to move on in the pandemic, and it's going to be safer to meet people face to face
Right.
and talk face to face.
What
I
do you think about
absolutely.
this pandemic? How's it just wreaked havoc?
Well, I think it has done that. It has caught us where it came to us. We've never experienced it. We've tried to
Right.
make the best of it. And
Right.
I spoke to that also when I talked about going back to school, the disparities within Jefferson County.
Mm-hmm.
And as we talk about vaccinating our community,
Right.
the District 1 community is down in vaccinations, but there is a concerted effort to take vaccinations places where folks are more comfortable. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if you take it to the churches, folks are comfortable going to the church. If we take it
Right.
to different places, so I commend us on stepping up and trying to make it better for us. And yes, we are reluctant to take the vaccine because history has used us as
Guinea pigs.
yes. And so when people say, well, I don't understand that, well, look it up. There's a reason.
Right.
So at this time, it is best that we all take the vaccine. But just because I've had my 2 shots, I'm not out in the public. And if I am, I'm over in the corner someplace looking
Right.
at whatever's going on. I
Mm-hmm.
went to one of my schools last week. They were having something outside, and I found me a nice soft spot to stand and to watch what was going on
Mm-hmm.
because I am in the group of people that I don't need to have it. I do not need to have
Right.
COVID-19. I'm
No.
afraid of it. So, but again, I've had both of my shots, but I have multiple masks that I wear, and I just got one of those little clear things that you can put on your head. So, I mean, I'm really going to go out looking crazy, but I'm better.
No,
I,
you're
I
not.
have to, yeah, you have to do everything you can to stay safe.
Wearing the mask and the shield is quite fashionable. It says a lot about who you are, because it
Well,
says you're
be,
looking out
be,
for other
yeah,
people. That's
be
what we want
prepared.
them to do.
At our
Huh?
next meeting, I'm going to be all glammed up with the mask and the shield. Like, what is wrong
Say
with her?
double mask and a shield, huh?
Yeah, being safe, absolutely.
Well, wow. I really thank you for being my guest today, because I knew it would be the conversation that I wanted to have, and I knew I could have that conversation with you, because, like I said, I know you're a straight shooter, and you walk lightly, but you carry a great big stick, and we are proud of how you take care of business for us on our behalf, and our children's behalf, because
Thank you.
that means a lot. That means they come first in your book.
Yes, ma'am. It's
They
it's
come
about the
first in your book.
children and what are we doing for the children when things come before the board, different opportunities. I'm like, how will this impact the children? And
Right.
what will it be for all children? And I'm happy to be a school board member. I never thought when I retired from JCPS that I would be a school board member, but any job you give me, I take it seriously. And this is the most significant thing that this community can do is to educate our children well,
Right.
because I won't be here forever. And we will be looking back at this generation that we are working on, schooling, educating, providing sports opportunities, music opportunities. All of that is going to matter to them as they leave public education and go to the next level, whether it's to a career automatically, whether it's to college, whatever the case may be. It's our responsibility to open the door and to receive every child. And that's what I tell folks, we don't have differences. This
No.
is public. That means all, not
Right.
some. So
Right.
I'm honored to have this. I have gone beyond the term that I promised everybody. It's like, well, you can't leave now. So I hear that a lot. We've got a lot to do, though. So I'm trying to do my part, and I'm not trying to leave until we know that it's more comfortable. And it's going to take some transition to come back to school in the
Right.
midst of everything that has happened. My task is to make sure that students, staff, family are safe walking in the building. And when they walk out of the building, if I go home and live with my grandmother, I want to make sure that I'm not taking anything home to my grandmother
Right.
to make her sick.
Right.
So I won't say it's a challenge. It's something that we must do. It's not optional for me.
Right.
So,
Right.
but thank
I
you.
want to say this as a member of Westchester Street Baptist Church. I know C. Mackie Daniels is shining his light down on you, saying you go girl, because he was definitely one of your cheerleaders.
Yes, ma'am, he was. And when I talked to Reverend Daniels about it, I said, I need to talk to you about something.
Right.
And he said, well, what is it? Step over here and we'll talk about it. I said, well, Reverend Daniels, people are asking me about being on the school board. And you've been on the school board, so I just want to
Right.
know, what you're going to say to me. He said, I'm going to say, why haven't you turned in your papers yet? You need to do that. It's only Reverend Daniels could say,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But when I went on and there were things that I didn't understand, I would call him and he would always talk me through it. But he was a huge supporter of mine.
I
He
know.
was a wonderful man for school board and for personal reasons. He was there with me the whole time with my daughter. So my my heart broke when he left, but
Yes.
he is looking down saying, "Told you,
Yeah.
told you." Yeah,
All right.
yeah, yes,
That's
ma'am.
wonderful. Well, I want to say I admire you at
Thank
the
you.
utmost because I think you are all that, Miss Diane Porter.
Well,
And
I
on
think
behalf
you're
of,
all that too, ma'am. So thank you
well,
for saying
well,
that.
thank you,
And
darling.
I appreciate being here today. And I might ask to come back as we go through some things
Whenever
more to talk
you
about
feel
what's
free to
going
come
on.
back.
I
If
think
something's
that,
going on and you want to explain it and you don't think the message is out there like you think it should be for us to understand it,
yes,
be
ma'am.
my guest. Call me up and say, okay, put me on. I don't care who's coming up. Put me on. See, look, see, I can do that.
Yes, yes, you can. So this is
I can
great.
do
This is
program changes in a heartbeat.
This is good to know that this is because people are listening. And sometimes it's easier to hear it this way than somebody lecturing you.
Right,
I
right,
have not looked at one piece of paper the whole time we're talking. I'm talking
right.
from
It was just
my
a
head and my
conversation.
heart. Yes, yes.
Just a
So
conversation.
thank you. This is amazing. I went back and looked at some of your other shows. So
Did you?
thank, yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Thank you.
good, good,
Yes.
good. Well, I'm working on this show, Diane, so that I have a commitment from Wave 3 to have a 30-minute show.
Okay.
So,
Good.
but I'm trying to get my numbers up. That's why I tell people when you watch me on watch us on Facebook, you got to like us. When you watch us on YouTube, you got to subscribe. So when I go in there and say, okay, here are my numbers. These people are watching me.
Okay.
I'm ready for my show because I'm ready for my show now.
Yeah.
But it will be over dinner,
Okay.
prepared by Black chefs,
Okay, that's
so we can
awesome.
support them in their businesses. And another piece to that is I want to support Black businesses because
Yes.
they need a lot of Black businesses. Most Black businesses in Louisville, they don't do. advertising or marketing on television.
Hmm.
So social media has been a godsend,
Yes.
but when I go on television, I'd like to bring some businesses with me just to do a shout out as a
Yes.
part of my content so that they don't have to pay those fees that they may not be able to afford. But then I can still say this week, our show is, we've got a shout out from WP Porter or AD Porter Funeral Home. And I went and shot Press one day and he was, yes, my name is William Press Porter, and I'm here. He told where his business was and what their motto was, and their mission to serve, and
Right.
that's all. But
That's
just
right.
that, just that little bit, sometimes give somebody a boost. You never know. So I'm
That's
going. I'm
wonderful.
trying to do my part. I
Okay.
want to
Well,
do my part.
this is wonderful, and it was enjoyable. People are not always as smiley as you are when they talk to me, so thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I thank you, sweetheart, and you have a
Okay.
blessed evening, and keep fighting the good fight, Diane.
Yes, ma'am, I will. I got that stick. Y'all just don't see it, so it's there. But thank
Okay.
you.
All
Be
right,
safe.
darling.
All
Take care of
righty.
yourself.
You do the same. Thank you.
You're welcome, baby. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Woo, Miss Diane Porter, chairperson of the board at JCPS. You can tell when somebody's heart is in their business. She's in the business of looking out for everything that goes down within public school system here in Louisville, Kentucky. And I think we should be mighty grateful to have her play the role that she's played. And just like she said, she's not going anywhere anyway soon until I guess whatever she had planned, whatever goals she wanted to reach have been achieved. And she's doing a fabulous job. And I just really wanted her to come because I know that's one of those voices. I said we've got a lot of different voices in our community that we don't hear from them all the time, and they're not always under the spotlight. And sometimes we just want to hear, it takes this whole village to make everything work, especially for our families, for our children. And it's very important to hear those voices as well. And on that note, it's dinner time somewhere. Guess who's coming to dinner? Bon appetit. And I will see you next